Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to stream a game in OBS using a Stream Deck and some free software called Scoreboard Plus. And let's get started. So I already have OBS set up with all I need for like my camera inputs and the graphics and everything, so that'll be a different video that'll show you how to do that. But for today, let's start with the Stream Deck, and I've got different folders here to get started. I'm going to setup folder, and then this first one will open my applications. So I've got OBS and my scoreboard program, and Google Chrome for my live control room. So the next thing is so that was just a configured within the Stream Deck configuration to open a series of apps. So these 4 apps, and then this one, Scoreboard, has it hits the enter key to get rid of a message that pops up at the beginning. Then my next action is a position action, and that's actually a hotkey. And so what I've got is using this program called Hammerspoon, and what it does is it lets me script events for keyboard shortcuts. In this instance, it is recalling all of the 3 apps I just opened to a specific position on the screen. So I'll go ahead and hit that, and there we go. Now this is important mostly for this Scoreboard Plus program because it doesn't have hotkeys in this version. So what I'm doing is I'm actually scripting mouse clicks to click these buttons, and I'll show you that later. So it's very important that this is always in the same spot, and that's what this second button does. So my third button is going to configure Scoreboard, and again, it's just a series of moving the mouse and clicking, and that's configuring it for basketball for a 20-minute half clock. So I can change that. That just saves me from having to do this every time. It sets up a preset, lets me change the time, and enables always on top. There's a small issue with this program where if the clock here is covered up, it'll start dragging if it gets covered up by a window. Some strange glitch in the programming, I guess so, but the workaround is to enable always on top in the settings, and as long as you can always see that, it'll stay on time with the scoreboard timer. So that's my third thing. My fourth thing is going to edit my score bug, which I just created a bug in Photoshop, and you can hear the fan on this computer running up because it's an older computer. It's a 2011 MacBook Pro, but it works great. It's got Thunderbolt input, which is what I use for the Blackmagic Studio Mini recording capture for my camera input. So to edit my bug, again, I've got this always on top, so I'll just minimize that for now since we don't care about the clock. I've got it set up, everything's locked except for my away name. So I can double click this and edit the name to whatever I want. And then I've got the home and away colors, so I can get on these color overlays here and pick a color. So we'll make away nice purple. We'll make home team a red. That looks nice. All right, and then I will save that. And I've got a script set up in Photoshop. Whenever I save the PSD, it will also save a PNG file, which is what OBS reads. So there's my scoreboard, and we're going to go ahead and reopen this. Oh, I guess I just minimized it. Now I am all set up and ready to stream, so I can go to my, let's see, stream folder here, and we'll start streaming. And Streamdeck actually integrates with OBS with the API, so these controls actually read to and from OBS, whereas my other actions, they just are keyboard shortcuts, so they don't actually know what they're doing. They're just clicking a certain spot on the screen. So I'm streaming in here. I can go to Google Chrome, go to my live control room. I don't have it set up for one-click streaming because I like to make events still. I'll preview. And I'll go ahead and start this stream just so you can see a different feature of the Stream Deck, which is my viewership and my messaging in YouTube. I may have to stop it though if it overloads this computer with the screen recording as well. And we're live. I'll go watch it on my other computer. There we go. So, go back. And then this is actually an integration with Twitter. You can sign into your Twitter account and send out a canned message. So this one I've got set up to actually send out a tweet that says we're about to go live, and it has a link to our YouTube channel. And then I can record here as well if I wanted to record in addition to streaming as a backup. Now I will show you my main page, which is these 6 control my clock, well, 7 control my clock, these 3 control sources inside OBS, and then this shows me my YouTube viewership, which we're now sitting at 1 because I'm the only one watching it on my other computer. So another feature here, we have messages built in for, I believe, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. There's a few others, I believe, as well. So I've got a series of messages here. I'll show you what they say in the Stream Deck. I'm clicking the wrong thing. So we've got a starting soon message, a halftime message. So I'll fire off this starting soon. Got a nice little feedback there with the check mark. And that should show up in here. The event will be starting soon. We're having technical difficulties. We'll be back shortly. This one's not going to let me send it off. I'm probably sending them off too fast. There we go. We're delayed. Got halftime and full-time messages here, and they all give you this nice feedback whenever they're sent. And that's just set up in here. You choose the YouTube integration, the chat message, you drag it in here, and you just say whatever you want to say. So it's really easy to configure. All right, now we've got that out of the way. So that's real nice if we lose a source or something and people are going to wonder what's going on. I just hit my messages and say we're having technical difficulties, etc. So the coolest thing about this Stream Deck is I got it working with this Scoreboard program. So I can have hardware control of my scoreboard rather than having to use my mouse. So I've got home up, home down, start and stop the clock. And you can see I've got a toggle bowl, so this isn't actually reading from the program, it's just toggle back and forth. So you have to make sure you're in the correct state when you start it, otherwise it'll be backwards. Period up and down, away up and down. So you can actually see the mouse moving there. The scripting program, Hammerspoon, captures the mouse position, takes a certain mouse pixel position, and then moves it back. So you don't even have to be in this program because there's also a part of the script that tells it, go to Scoreboard, make it the front screen, and then click. So I could actually have this covered up, theoretically, if this wasn't always on top. And it would still, as long as I'm on the right tab, control my score. except it's not. It must be going. I probably have the delay set a little too fast for that. It's clicking before it can get there. But it's not a problem because I always have this always on top anyway for the timer. So I can go really fast here and it's still capturing all of those. Then the integration with OBS here for the scenes. I can go to commercials and it'll fire off my commercials. I can turn the bug on and off for commercials. Go back live. Oh great, I just crashed OBS. So now I could fire off one of my we're having technical difficulties messages. I'll be right back. Till OBS opens back up. And now we're back. So, what this program does is it just outputs a text file here in my Scoreboard program. So here's the program. It outputs text files here. And then OBS reads those text files individually for each section. So if I unlock my screen, you can see I got the period. That's just a reading from a file here, my period thing, and then I can choose my colors and everything in here. My clock, my score. So each one of these is a separate text file that's output from Scoreboard. Then my score bug is my Photoshop graphic. So now that, oh yeah, and then we've got our viewership here. It looks like, yep, my other computer stopped streaming, or stopped reading the stream. So now we have 0 viewers. And that should go back up to 1 here in a second. And the other thing I've got on here for my clock is a reset timer. So I can stop the clock at the end of the half, hit my reset, and it'll mouse click to reset the timer over here back to 20. And go up to period 2 or whatever. So now that we've got all of that out of the way, I can show you the actual scripting here. And I'll just stop streaming to save some computer power on this thing. But this program is called Hammerspoon. It's free. And when you download it and install it, it'll have a... let me make this not always on top. There we go. It will have a message to enable accessibility features in your Mac preferences. So you click that, it'll take you there, you enable it, and then it'll be able to control your mouse and whatever else you want it to do. I just have it doing mouse and hotkeys. So the configuration file here, when you first open the program, this will be empty. But I've just found, actually the creator of this program, I found a script in a forum to do what I want to do. They have tutorials for doing pretty much whatever you want to do. Window resizing, moving your mouse, switching programs, opening things, all sorts of stuff you can do. But really all I'm doing is window resizing and then mouse moving and mouse clicking. So I don't really know much about coding. I know enough to be dangerous probably, but when you double click a dash, it'll comment that out. So this isn't actually doing anything. This is just for me to read to see what different sections of my code do. So like these X's don't do anything. This tells me what this section's doing. So my first thing here is you can see the hotkey here, HS Hotkey Bind. So what this is saying is that the command Alt-Shift-Control-L, so when you hit all of those keys and hit L, it will run this section of this function, so function to the end. So I have this set up to my setup window layout. Yeah, this one, window positioning. So you can see I call this function, you can call whatever you want. It just references it down here for the hotkey. So function window arrange, and then I'm not quite sure what these local tags do, but I've got them in there. So I think maybe it's for the local screen. So if you have multiple monitors, you may have to do some more coding. Again, I'm not really a coder. I just played with it until I got something that worked. So laptop screen equals color LCD. That's what this thing is telling me. Find screen name in Hammerspoon console. So I'll copy that, open the console, paste it in here, and it will tell me the name of this screen is color LCD. So that's what I'm using. So this screen, color LCD, it will do a window layout of these 3 programs. If I wanted more, I can just copy and paste a line, find the next program I want, and then do whatever. So it's saying Scoreboard Plus will, this app specifically, any window on this laptop screen, and these are different positions you can have that are presets, but I'm just using a custom here, which is an XY pixel position for the upper left of the window, and then a height, width and height for the window. Scoreboard Plus, you actually can't resize, so these 2 don't really matter. These other ones will actually give me a custom size of the window. So for Google Chrome, for instance, you can see it made it 1371 pixels wide by 465 tall, and put it 68 pixels from the left and 434 pixels from the top. And the easy way to get these values is to use the screenshot feature, which is Command-Shift-4. And you can use this to take screenshots, which save to your desktop. But what you can do is just hit Command-Shift-4, and then you have a little pixel readout here of your XY. So I can see this is starting 68 in and 430, whatever I have, 436 down. 434 is the actual value, so right there. And that's an easy way to find pixel position for this program. That's very useful for the mouse clicks, which I'll show you later. So this little chunk of code rearranges these 3 apps whenever I hit Command-Alt-Shift-Control-L, which I have this button on Stream Deck programmed to hit Command-Shift-Control-Alt-L. Oops. So you can see I've got a different command for each of these, L, Y. Same thing for these, H, J, etc. So each thing I want to control a mouse or a Hammerspoon function, I just have that. So Hammerspoon is looking for the hotkeys, which you specify here, and then Stream Deck is providing the hotkey pushes, so I don't have to hit Command-Alt, all the code for it. All the shortcut for it. I just have to hit the one button. So that's my arrange part. And then this just, the end here ends this function, and then the window arrange here specifies the hotkey for this function. So I just have this here to help me see visually where my different sections are. So this next section is configuring Scoreboard Plus, which I just have a series of mouse movements to set up Scoreboard Plus, so I don't have to remember, because there's no configuration saving in this either, even though it has a section. This guy was coding this app, and I was working with him a little bit with some feature requests, and he stopped developing it just for time reasons. So you can see he's got sections here that he was working on that never actually got coded. That's why the hotkeys don't work, and these other functions are non-existent, but the program still works great. I've got the beta version. He's got the normal 1.0 version available online on OBS project forums. and that works just as well as this beta version. But I've already got this one set up, so I'm going to keep using it. And let me quit this so we can watch the thing again. What this is telling, so again, I've got my function. I can name it whatever I want, as Scoreboard Plus setup. And then the end of the function is all the way down here. And then I've got the hotkey command binding it. Again, I'm specifying the function that I'm binding this hotkey to. I don't think this section of code necessarily needs to be at the end. It can probably be anywhere, but I just leave them all together. So this function will launch or focus the application. So you have to get the actual application name here, which if you hover over it, it should tell you. You can also see in the application folder and finder what its name is. It's a name.app. So it will either launch this program or put focus on it by clicking on it, essentially. And then it will, so I've got multiple sections here. Each of these two local, well, I take it back. This one's different. The first one captures the position of the mouse and calls it old mouse. And then at the very end of my function, it recalls the old mouse position that is saved and resets the mouse. So what that does is it finds out where your mouse is on the screen, then does all its stuff, and then at the end it will move the mouse back to where it was, so you're not losing your mouse all the time. So it's saving the position of the old mouse for this first one, and then it's giving a XY coordinate here, and then it is running this event to click the left mouse button down, and then it's pausing briefly, and then it's lifting the mouse button up. So that's important that you, when it clicks it down, you also let it lift up, or else it'll just stay dragging things around. And then it's pausing again, and then it's moving on to the next position. So again, this is all one mouse click at one specific geometric point. So then it's clicking at this point, and then it's clicking at this point. So what I did is I just copy and paste this, copy that, paste it, and then my next mouse position where I wanted to click, I put the coordinates in. So let's just watch what it does. And this will actually, it should launch the program. When I do this configuration, it'll just, it won't really work because, again, it has that enter button I have to hit, and it's not in the right position. So this will normally, my previous setup will position that. Oh, sorry, that was my Open Apps position, so I won't have to do this manually. So let's just watch what this does again. It's going to start clicking sections. So each time the mouse moves and clicks is a different section of my code here. So the first one, I won't go through them all, but I'll just show you. The first one goes to 325.70, which is 325.70 right there. So it clicks on the setting. So that's this section. Then it goes to 327.380. Which is down here. Enable always on top. And then it goes to 241, 266, clicks on that, etc. So it's just clicking all these things for me. And then at the end, it will return my mouse back to its original position. So that just makes sure that that program is always on top. It has a 20-minute timer. I can move these, I can modify these positions if I want to make it a 10-minute timer. It'll just go to a different position here instead of that position, which I'll probably have to do because I think the girls' games do 10-minute quarters and guys do 20-minute halves for us, for our league. So I'll probably have to modify that with a different button for configuring for the girls' game and the guys' game. So that's the end of that function. It's binded to this button. And then my next chunks are all on the main page here, score up, score down, clocks, etc. And they're much more simple. So again, the function name, I called it OBS clock. It launches or focuses Scoreboard Plus, gives a position, which is the position of the clock button. 350, 375, right there, start and stop the clock. So it's defining this position, it's capturing the current position of the mouse clicker, and then it's moving the mouse to click at the X and Y position, which I defined up here. I guess maybe these locals are just defining the X and Y position for all this code, so I don't have to enter it multiple times, would be my guess. So it's going to this position, it's clicking the mouse down, pausing for a moment. You can see I've made this shorter. The other one was 200,000, so I made it 50,000 just so it clicks much quicker than the setup one. And I could probably make that faster. I don't know how fast I can go before I start having issues, but this works great. It's plenty fast for my purposes. So it'll click the mouse at that XY position, pause, unclick the mouse, essentially let the mouse button up at that position, and then pause, and then it will return the mouse to its old position. And then again, this function OBS clock is bound to the hotkey C, all that stuff C, which you can see here. And that's essentially what I do for all of these. So home up, home down, each button I want to click in the scoreboard has a specific XY position defined in here. I can call the functions whatever I want, as long as I make sure to do it at the beginning and the end, and make sure they each have a unique hotkey. So that is the end of my Hammersmith script. I would want to save this normally. I don't want to save it now. And then you have to reload your configuration every time you save it. And then, now that I have all these hotkeys, oops, I just broke that. I believe that was the right one. Yep. So I have all these hotkeys, and I just, in Streamdeck, I assign them a function here, which is system hotkey. So again, whatever hotkey you want to do, you can give it a name, which will show up here. And then you can drag in a custom picture. I will actually show you that because I want to change the picture for this to Photoshop. They have a little online tool where you can create things. I also have a Photoshop template, essentially. That's the correct size for this. I just drag whatever I want to make on there. So you can make your own icons. You can make a multiple part icons, which this one is. You can see it's got 2 icons for it. So what this one is actually a hotkey toggle, hotkey switch. That's what they call it. So it's got, I just have the same thing because I want the same position here. I don't have a separate position for start and stop. But every time I click that, it'll toggle it to the other picture, just so I have a quick feedback without having to look at, the scoreboard to see where it's at. So that's what all these do. They're all hotkeys. These are all in this OBS. You can specify scenes and sources to show and hide. So I can find a source. Let's say I want to show and hide my gym audio. So I want to mute the microphone in the gym. Now I've got it here. You can see it's muting, or essentially unshowing, this gym audio source. And that's about it, I think. Yeah, so this is using the built-in integrations with OBS Studio, Twitter, YouTube, etc. There are more, game capture mixer, I think XSplit. No, I don't see that on here. Streamlabs, TipeeeStream, Twitch, etc. They have lots of integrations for Twitch especially, which is what this Stream Deck is designed for. But that is how I'm using it, and hope you enjoyed the video and hope it helps you out.